What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a Tuesday edition of Mile High Hockey. Drew and Will with you as always. The Avalanche played a couple games out west since we last talked to you that we will dive into in Vegas, in San Jose. Play the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight. I want to talk to Drew about whether or not that still brings back memories or the warm and fuzzies of the 2022 Stanley Cup, plus a curious goalie decision for this evening, and then a long break coming up for the Avs. It's all to come here today on Mile High Hockey. But Drew, let's begin with the games against the Golden Knights and the Sharks. I think you can make an argument that Vegas was the Avalanche's most complete game of the season. We had a little fun on Friday, like 2 o'clock. What are we doing? 1 o'clock Vegas time. But I watched that whole game Friday afternoon. It was a blast. I thought the Avs played really well, got out of there with a 4-2 win in a potential Western Conference final preview. And then on Saturday, they lose to San Jose. They do get a point, but they lose in overtime, a movie we've seen before. I'll keep it broad for you, keep it open, let you decide where to take it. What was your biggest takeaway from the two games we saw from Colorado since the last time we talked to everyone?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was going into it, I thought they would probably be feeling good if they came away with 3 points. I thought it would go differently. I actually thought Vegas might be a game that would go to overtime because there's two teams that are very close together in skill level and things like that. But the Avalanche obviously outplayed the Golden Knights in that hockey game. What a fun hockey game, man. If we are lucky enough to get that as a Western Conference final, I can't wait until we get to see that. Hopefully that comes to fruition. But going into San Jose on Sunday, I thought they played a really good first period. And then to me, it kind of looked like they were exhausted. They kind of given everything they had in that Vegas game on Friday. They'd have to come in a second game of a back-to-back. They looked exhausted about halfway through the second period. I think that third, they only ended up with like 5 or 6 shots on goal. Not a lot of offensive firepower in that game. But I think you come away with 3 out of a possible 4 points, you're probably feeling pretty good. But then it kind of comes back to the whole conversation of, well, this team in overtime, again, against the Sharks. It's just like, what is it with this team in overtime? They just can't kind of seem to get over the hump. And it's frustrating. I think it's frustrating everybody around it. The fact that you've left 5 points on the table in what's probably going to be a closely contested Central Division race, not even to mention Western Conference race, President's Trophy race, stuff like that. So it's a little bit disheartening that you've left 5 points on the table. But overall, you get 3 or 4 on a back-to-back on the road. I think you take that 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. You're right. The order of that may be a little reversed. And they did outshoot the Sharks by about 15 shots, but you're right. The steam was just out by the end of that game. The third period and overtime were kind of a slog, kind of a hard watch for Avs fans. But you mentioned the OT thing. I have a stat for you. The Avalanche have skated off losers in 5 of their last 7 games. And it doesn't feel that way. You know, we're not sitting here pushing any panic buttons going, oh my gosh, they've lost 5 of 7, because they've gotten points in 4 of those 5 losses, as you alluded to. But to be 2-1-4 in their last 7 games, Jared Bednar spoke about it yesterday after practice a little bit of like, we are leaving points out there. And to your point there, Drew, that like the Central is going to be tight. The West is going to be tight. And people can sit there and get blue in the face and go, well, it's not real hockey. It's 3-on-3. It's a shootout. Well, those points could come back to haunt you a little bit later in the season. And I do think that fans are getting a little frustrated in OT, particularly that it's always the same guys on the ice when they're giving up goals. What do you make of maybe an overhaul in overtime? I know you kind of joked maybe last week, I can't remember what day it was, about like, throw Jack Drury out there, throw Ross Colton out there. But I'm actually kind of to the point with you of like, maybe this 3-on-3 thing, just throw a third line out there and see what happens. Now, also, you got to wonder how that's going to play with your stars. How would a guy like Nathan MacKinnon feel about not being on the ice in overtime?
It's frustrating because, like, you've got your best players out there on the ice. You would think and assume that if you have Nathan MacKinnon, Marty Necas, and Cale Makar, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be able to put the game away in overtime. So it's a little bit concerning that it's those 3 guys that are the ones that have been on the ice, I think, for all 3 of the games that they've lost in overtime so far this year. But, I mean, Bednar kind of alluded to it yesterday, the fact that they don't practice in 3-on-3. Maybe that's sort of the issue, because that tells me clearly they don't take it all that seriously if they're not practicing. I don't know how many other teams in the NHL are not practicing 3-on-3. I would assume that given the lack of practice time available for these teams, not a lot of teams are doing it. So maybe they ought to start focusing a little bit more on it, because there's a couple things here when you got the advantages that they should be taking advantage of. The 3-on-3 and the power play. 2 things they've been pretty terrible at all season long, and it's really kind of hurting this team. So maybe you look at it and say, all right, who are our best possession guys? Because obviously puck possession in overtime is paramount. Who are our best possession guys? Well, again, you go back and assume, all right, it's probably Nathan McKinnon, it's probably Marty Natchez, it's probably Cale Makar. So I don't really know what the true solution is, other than maybe just do everything in your power to not let it get to overtime. Because I looked at the numbers this morning. When the Avs are winning after 2 periods of play, now this is all NHL, this has always kind of been the case, but
Sure.
you're leading after 2 periods, they're 6-0 on the season. They're 0-1-4 when trailing after 2. So it's just this is kind of the result. Make sure that you do what you need to do in the first 2 periods of the game. Get to that third period, hold down a lead. You don't have to worry about going to overtime. Hopefully, they can make up some of these points down the road in the next couple of weeks when they start playing kind of the lower tier teams in the Central Division. You can start to make up all these points, but you got to stop dropping games in overtime. You got to stop letting it get to overtime. You got to stop dropping the points in overtime.
Yeah, and let's talk about the goalies, because I told you on Friday that I thought it was going to be Wedgwood, then Blackwood. That did turn out to be correct. We get to see Mackenzie Blackwood's regular season debut this year. Also got to see Taylor McCarr's NHL debut, which was very cool as well. He got the gift of, hey, you're going back to the AHL after his first game, but I saw the McCarr family was there in San Jose. That was very cool. But I thought Wedgwood was excellent against the Golden Knights on Friday. And then on Saturday, I didn't think Blackwood was bad by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, my goodness, Macklin Celebrini, that dude can play. He's 19 years old, and he was unbelievable ripping shots on Blackwood. I think he dinged him in the helmet a couple times in that game. But what did you make of the goalie rotation? What did you make of Blackwood's debut? And then that can help segue us into tonight against the Lightning as well, where we know it's going to be Scott Wedgwood again, a decision that has raised some eyebrows amongst Avalanche fans.
Yeah, and I talked about it on Friday. I didn't like the decision of going with Wedgwood in Vegas. I wanted to see Mackenzie Blackwood, although I guess you could kind of look at the logic from Jared Bednar and say, all right, well, Mackenzie Blackwood hasn't played. He didn't play in the preseason. He didn't play in training camp at all. He's going to be rusty. Do you really want to throw him out there against a high-powered Vegas offense? Obviously, Jared Bednar elected to not do that. We saw Wedgie. It was great to see Scott Wedgwood get back in the net and kind of regain his form. I thought he was excellent on Friday. And I'm with you. I actually didn't think that Blackwood was all that bad at all on Saturday. You could see a little bit of the rust. I'm not sure he was tracking the puck quite the way you'd want to see, but that's something you would expect for a guy who has not played any amount of time. Now, we got the news today, obviously, you mentioned about Wedgwood starting tonight. That, to me, kind of raised a little bit of, I don't want to say a red flag, but maybe like a yellow flag of so you haven't played since Saturday now. Blackwood got the start on Saturday. You're playing tonight. It's Tuesday. Obviously, they've had a couple days off. Then you don't play again until Saturday night, and it's going to be another back-to-back. Are they just slow playing this kind of return for Mackenzie Blackwood, or is the injury a little bit worse and more concerning than they're letting on? I'm hoping that it's just they're going to kind of slow play this and kind of let him rehab a little bit more and feel more comfortable in net. But given Blackwood's injury history, to me, it's a little bit concerning that he's not getting the net tonight against a really good Tampa team. Although you could make the argument, you look at the numbers, he's been terrible against Tampa in his career. He's got 4 starts. He's given up almost 5 goals a game in those 4 starts. So maybe that played into it. I'm hoping that's the case. Maybe not, but we'll see. It's a little bit concerning me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, it is concerning because you laid out the schedule very well. I mean, between a Saturday and a Saturday, you play one hockey game.
Yeah.
One hockey game. And your quote-unquote starting goalie isn't in the net in that one hockey game. I like the way you said it. Yellow flag. That's where I'm at on this. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, my gosh, Blackwood's hurt again. But we did talk to him on Friday down there at Family Sports, and he told us, he's not going to talk about the injury. It's hockey. I get it. He's not going to talk about the injury. But he said really one of the only things that was going to help it was rest. And so my mind does kind of go to, did he come out of Saturday? I'm not saying he aggravated something. I'm not saying he felt terrible, but maybe he came out of Saturday telling Jared Bednar, listen, we've got a whole nother week here. If you give Scott Tuesday, then I get another week under my belt before I go play a back-to-back either on Saturday or Sunday. That would probably be best case scenario. But on the surface, this has to let me think that Mackenzie either woke up on Sunday or showed up to the rink yesterday on Monday and had a conversation with the coaching staff that whatever it is, if it's, we're not even going to speculate, lower body, whatever, that it didn't feel quite right. And we all love Scott Wedgwood, but we're not expecting Scott Wedgwood to play 50, 55, 60 games this year. It's definitely something to monitor, Drew.
Although maybe we should kind of start to expect Wedgwood to play a little bit more.
That's a lot of games
it is
for
a lot
a
of
career
games.
backup.
I know it is. It is. And we talked about how great the start was for Wedgwood. And, obviously some of the shine kind of came off that a little bit. But the way this thing, in my eyes, is kind of starting to trend a little bit, this could almost end up being maybe a 50-50 split on the season, which, all right, if they play to their capabilities the way we saw them play when they were acquired last year, the way we've seen Wedgwood play so far this year, okay, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if it comes down to just injury, it worries me because, like you said, Wedgwood's a career backup. I want to see Mackenzie Blackwood in goal, and it just worries me a lot with his injury history. Every year he's had some sort of a significant lower body injury, whether it be the groin, whether it be the knee. It's a concerning little trend, and I hope that Saturday wasn't a thing where it was just like, oh, he came out of the game, he wasn't really feeling right, something like that. I hope it's just, all right, let's just play this slow. We've got the one game in the week. Let's just play it slow, see how it goes. You can trust that Scott Wedgwood is going to play well. Hopefully that's the case. But again, yellow flag for me. This is going to be something worth keeping an eye on, especially if we get an alert, Thursday or Friday. Hey, Trent Weiner's on his way back up
right
from Loveland, or whatever. Or Wedgwood's going to end up starting both the games on the road in Edmonton and Vancouver. So I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see how this plays out, but it's a little concerning right now.
All right. So tonight will be fun because it's national TV at 7:52 puck drop, by the way, not everyone's favorite, but yep. B, it's the Tampa Bay Lightning. And of course, that's the team the Avalanche beat to win their most recent Stanley Cup in 2022. Although I did find it funny, Gabriel Landeskog was asked about it today. Hey, do you have any thoughts on that? And he's like, not really. They're a good team. But we're fans, Drew. So how do you view a game against the Lightning tonight? For me, it's fun, don't get me wrong, but also that parade, that series does feel like a long time ago at this point. I can't say I'm excited to watch because it's two good hockey teams. It's national TV. Ball Arena should be buzzing, but I can't say I'm sitting here going, ooh, cup rematch. That's just not how I feel about this game.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. The significance of that part of the opponent doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot to me because also, honestly, this is a different Tampa Bay team. Yeah, Nikita Kucherov and Andrei Vasilevsky are still there, but no Steven Stamkos, no Ross Colton, who's now here, obviously. This is a different Tampa Bay team than what we saw in the Stanley Cup final. To me, it's more about, all right, you're playing a good hockey team that is starting to get things figured out. After a really slow start, they won 5 straight. Andrei Vasilevsky starting to kind of get things going here. This is a good defensive-minded team and really a good test for this Avalanche team. Kind of see, it's almost like a litmus test type game. Because if you look at the schedule, a lot of the teams they played, like, okay, they played Vegas, who's really good. They played New Jersey, who's really good. Obviously, they won both those games back-to-back. But other than that, like, Carolina's pretty good. Boston's not really good. Like, they haven't really played a lot of really good teams yet. This is kind of a game where, like, all right, this is a good test on national TV against a team that you kind of match up with stylistically that should bring a fun, entertaining hockey game tonight.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. A good litmus test for the Avs. And let's be honest, you want 2 points when it's your only game in a week. So if it goes to overtime, let's hope they can figure it out. And Bednar even said, hey, if it goes to a shootout, we got to find someone who can put the puck in the back of the net. Yeah. So who knows who could be shooting tonight? Could be one of those, come on down, you're the next shooter.
Bardakov, let's go.
Bardakov, you're shooting in the shootout. Hey, how about an Avalanche? I don't know, 4-1 win, something like that. That would make everyone happy.
That'd be really nice. Going into this weekend, knowing that, hey, you got a little rest behind your back and just get a couple extra points because it's going to start to get – it's actually weird looking at the schedule and think about it. Like, they haven't played more than 2 home games in a row back-to-back. Like, this is only their 6th home game. This is their 14th game, and only 6 of them been at home this year. They need to get into a stretch. Like, you're going to go on the road for back-to-back games this weekend. Then you're going to come home and play 4 straight. So it's important to get these 2 points. Haven't lost in regulation at home yet, so get it going tonight. No overtime games. Just keep this thing at overtime so we don't have to talk about my least favorite thing in overtime, the shootout, for at least a decent amount of time.
Yeah, well, Drew and I will talk about whatever happens on Friday, and then we'll give you the preview of the Canadian weekend that he hinted at as well. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all the fun stuff on YouTube, and we'll see you in a few days on Mile High Hockey.